Hi, Debbie. Welcome to the Healed and Cash Flowing podcast show. How are you?
Hi, Kat. Thanks for having me. And yeah, I'm doing well, thank you.
I'm so glad to that you're here, and I cannot wait to dig in because your subject is so freaking good. But for those that don't know you yet, can you tell us a little bit about who you are?
Yep, so my name is Debbie Lucas, and I'm the Joy Alchemist for women who want to confidently prioritize their own joy without feeling selfish or guilty. And that's because of my own journey that I've been through. And now, all the tools and everything that I've learned, I'm now helping to support other women to do the same.
Oh my God. I just the title, just the fact that you are the Joy Alchemist. I'm gonna give you kudos for that because it's such a beautiful name. But then you add that part of without feeling selfish or guilty. And women, and I'm gonna speak for myself, have struggled with that as well. So I'm glad that you're doing that. So why did you start doing this? Why are you helping women feel like that?
Yeah, so my journey, all my life I knew I was here for something more, but I wanted to help people. And I went through a social work career of 23 years, had my son, and he's nearly 18. He'll be 18 in July. And I've always felt guilty of being a full-time working mother, and always wanted to start my own business, but just never quite felt I had the confidence. And then about 3 years ago, I started this massive spiritual and personal development journey and had to really go deep, and I had loads of coaches and mentors that helped me with this to kind of heal the shadows, work with the shadows, tap into those limiting beliefs and really, kind of because the selfish was a big thing for me. I grew up
Mm,
with messages of who do you think you are? You always get your own way. You're selfish for asking for what you want. And so had to really unlearn a lot of that. And um, you know, I never even was able to tell you what I wanted out of life because my
mm,
needs didn't even feature. They weren't even on the
yeah.
bottom of the to-do list. And so as I gradually learned to kind of, learn that I'm worthy, embrace my needs and my wants, and realize that it wasn't selfish, my life completely changed. My outlook on life changed and things started to flow so much better. And so, it was only November last year in 2024 that it kind of landed that, this is my soul's purpose. This is what I'm here to help people with. And since then, like I've been in this state of bliss and flow, and it's been so beautiful. And I just want that for everybody else as well.
Oh my God, I can resonate with that so much. And I'm so glad that you went. And it's funny how we all start with ourselves, right? You have gone into this amazing 3 year spiritual journey of connecting with yourself. So I know that you said that you were feeling guilty and you weren't even sure, you couldn't even express what your needs were. They didn't even register. So you were probably feeling guilty, but did you know that something was missing? Like, what was the catalyst? How were you feeling in terms of, I want more, but do you even have the words as to say how you were feeling?
Yeah, I think for me it was a freedom, and I think freedom's something that we all kind of aspire to anyway. But not want. I wanted to do what I wanted when I wanted. I wanted to be there unconditionally for my son, and I just didn't know how to kind of get to that place because society conditions us. You go to school, the kind of 9 to 5 mentality. You then go to university or college. You then get your corporate job, and you kind of just stuck in this. You have to work hard. You
Mm.
have to keep like aspiring in your career in the corporate world. And there's never really, we're not taught at school, we're not taught in society really, more so nowadays, but back in the day, that there's more, you can do something different, you can be successful. Running your own business isn't hard work if you align with what you're meant to be here to do. And that's what shifted for me as well.
Ah, that is so good. So you decided to go on this journey. You're doing go on this journey, and then you had all these coaches. How do you decide? I need to go outside of myself to get help. What was that moment of, hey, I need to find other people that can help me along the way?
Yeah. I think for me, I was a social worker, and when I looked at kind of starting my own business, I trained as a life coach and NLP and hypnosis practitioner. So that's kind of my additional certification, and it the NLP part really helped me to understand the science behind the
Mm,
unconscious mind and how it works and the limiting beliefs. And then it was just being present in the moment and being open to opportunities presented to myself. And so back then, in kind of 2021 into 2022, I started a podcast. And my first guest interviewer or interviewee was a woman who was writing a book. She was a women's empowerment coach. And so it kind of just like, I read her book, loved the book, and then said like, Di, I need to work with you. And that was my first kind of dipping my toe into working with coaches in any shape or form. And she just blew my mind, opened up my world, really like I think I used the term kicked my butt out of stuck unconsciousness because I didn't even
Yeah.
realize it. I think it's not until I had somebody reflecting back and helping me to kind of really think about it. And so then, like I've always been investing in different coaches, kind of leaning into who do I need
Mhm.
next? What do I need next? So it wasn't really such a conscious decision as more
Yeah.
like just going with the flow. And at that point was still very unconscious about it, but kind of just feeling this draw and this need to work with this person that was kind of, in my world at that point.
Yeah, and I love that you were so sensitive to, because you could have felt that she could have been the person to get you started, but I love that you're like, let me follow this little glimmer of this. There's something here. Read the book and then reached out and say, we need to work together. You need to help
Yes.
me. I love that for you. That's amazing.
Yeah, and I think, since then and probably more so the past 12 months, I've really worked on leaning into my intuition and making decisions based on that. So for me, it's all about staying very present and aware in the
Yeah,
moment because if you've got all the noise and everything that's going on for you, you don't see the opportunities presented in front of you. And actually, one of the iterations of my business early on was, I remember saying to Di, who was my coach, that first coach, like, I want to help people, build websites. I want to help coaches launch their programs. And I had two phone calls, one a week apart. And the first one, I just gave some general advice for free. And it was the second one I was speaking to the person and that, when I was speaking to her, I realized, but I should be offering, this is what I want to do. And so I said to her on the call, actually, this is something that I want to start doing is, online business management, helping coaches launch programs. And she was like, send me a proposal of what you can help me with and let's work together. And, if I'd done that with the first person, that might have been my first client, but it was really just
yeah,
about being present and seeing, right, what is the universe giving me and stepping into that. And that kind of launched me into, kind of 2-year career as an online business manager until, as I said, last year, I realized, I was hiding behind my mission of helping other people heal the world by helping them reach more people. I am a healer. I am that person as well, and I have a gift to share, and it would be a sin not to do that. So stepping into that was really powerful for me.
yeah, that's so amazing. So when you said, for those that are new to these concepts, right? When you say stay present, and people are like, what do you mean stay present? I'm here, I'm alive, life is not on pause. What do you mean by staying present?
Yeah. So we often tend to live in our past and
Mm,
we also tend to live in the future. You either
yeah,
kind of, if you're in more kind of depressed mode, you're in the past, things that happen, ruminating. So you've got all of that constantly in your mind. Or if you're living in an anxiety kind of state, you're thinking about the future and what might
yeah,
happen. Being present is really about realizing that the past has happened.
hmm,
And yes, it's part of our story, but it doesn't change. I mean, it doesn't, sorry, I've lost my word now. It doesn't define who we are.
yeah,
Um, and the future, there's endless possibilities in the future, and I'll come back to that point later on in the conversation. So staying present in the moment is about realizing that now is all we have. Like consciously, this is all we're experiencing in this very moment. And it's about, I don't work with goals as such, but it's about knowing what your dreams and your aspirations are, and that's your kind of destination. But in the moment, what right now is going to get me on that path? What's the next step? And really only focusing on that because that's all you've got. And sometimes you might go this way to the left, sometimes you might go that way to the right. But ultimately, if you know that you want to head to that destination, what's the next step right now? What do I need to do? What's going to move the needle? And sometimes that's as much as sending one email or making
yeah.
one phone call. Sometimes it's a big thing like going out and viewing properties if you want to buy a new home or viewing going to see cars or whatever it may be. And but it's always just one step closer to it, no matter how small.
Yeah, that is so good. And I love the fact that it can be as simple as today you rest, right?
Yes.
So I don't know if that happened to you, that sometimes you're like, I'm motivated, and then nothing, you try to start and nothing happens because your body's saying, the best thing that you could do that's gonna propel you really, really forward is to take this freaking day off or rest for the afternoon. And then because when you get motivated, you just want to go, right? And I get myself burned out often, and
Yeah.
I am learning to, no, girl, chill, take that nap, and then do it later. And most of the time when I listen, it's just for the better.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I actually experienced that very a few weeks ago or a few months ago, actually, where I woke up and I had a to-do list the length of my arm, and I had so much I
Yeah,
wanted to do, and I just was not feeling great. And so I decided, you know what, the to-do list can wait. There was nothing urgent on it. And I made myself a cup of tea and I sat on the sofa with my dog and I just rested.
yeah,
And by lunchtime, I felt so energized and so better that I powered through my to-do list and got even more done. And that was
yeah,
such a wake-up call for me to realize that actually just how important rest is and prioritizing myself. Whereas before it was like, oh, this person needs me to do that. I need to do that for that person. I'm going to let them down. But when we realize that we very rarely are in a life or death situation with these things,
yeah,
and that's about regulating your nervous system as well. That you're not okay, unless it is genuinely a truly life or death situation, you're not going to die. The other person's not going to die. If the email doesn't get sent, is it absolutely the end of the world? And that's a big part of it as well, is just kind of working with, what's causing me anxiety and how can I calm my nervous system down, but also not just pushing that aside, learning to kind of face those feelings and those emotions because it's showing you something that you need to resolve as well.
yeah. Oh my God, that's so good. I was thinking, I was laughing because one thing that I always say, no babies or puppies are gonna die if that doesn't happen. And if you have an emergency, I called a friend the other day, and then she's like, "Oh, can you talk?" And I say, "Yes, I picked up."
Mm-hmm.
I am never gonna pick up the phone and say I cannot talk. You just
Yes.
picked up the phone. So if you cannot talk, text me and say
Yes.
I'm in the middle of something right now. And if I have an emergency, I told her, please no. I'm gonna here in the United States it's 911. I don't know what the
Mhm.
number is
Yes,
where
999,
you
yeah.
999. I'm like, I'm gonna call 911 for emergency. Don't worry. Like I know how to take care of myself. Don't pick up if you cannot talk.
No, absolutely. And I say something very similar. Like if it's that dire an emergency, it's the police or the ambulance or the paramedics
Yeah,
that you're needing to call. It's not me, So it just
correct.
does put it into context and put it into perspective, doesn't it?
It sure does. And you mentioned something about how you took that nap and then you felt much better and you were able to tackle your list and got more done. And I think what you're referring to is that balance between the masculine and feminine energy, where feminine rest and the masculine energy is go, go, go. And as women, I think especially if we need to take care of a lot of things, we tend to lean towards the
Yeah.
masculine and ignore the feminine because it's like, I don't know about you, but sometimes I bully myself into, girl, you can get more done. And that's just the feminine, just like the masculine, like get it done. And it's like, no, I can have a happy dance between the masculine and the feminine. And that makes me even more feminine.
100%. And I lived in the masculine energy for so long because that, like, doing and structure, that's what created safety for me. And
Yeah.
as I kind of
Oof.
went on my own, healing journey, I realized that that's how I found safety for myself and actually resting. And I can even still now, I can feel a little flutter
Yeah.
in my tummy as I'm talking about it because it is still quite new to me, that like resting and sitting in that flow and the
Yeah.
creativity, and it needs to be that harmony because you can't just do unless you've got the creativity and the ideas coming from the feminine side as well. So it's about, and sometimes one might be slightly more than the other, but it's always about coming back to that center. And that's something that's been very, very new for me to work with. But it's made such a difference.
It does. And it's even having the capacity and the learning of it because it's not yet, the concept. Many of us know what we need to do, but if we don't have the capacity, I don't know if it's ever happened to you where an opportunity comes up where your calendar opens up
Mhm.
and you could take that nap and you're like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to stay up working for 5 hours, knowing that that's going to mess you up for the following day. And
Yeah.
is if we don't learn it and if we don't implement it, we're going to create those same habits that are going to keep us in that loop of insanity, doing the same thing, expecting a different result.
Yeah. So you're tapping into something that I've just recently started kind of conceptualizing for myself and for the clients that I work with, and it's called the self-worth loop. And
Mm,
it's basically, and that's again based on my own experiences of where, if you don't feel worthy, and that is for me the crux of it. That's the first thing I work on with clients is you need to feel worthy of creating whatever it is you desire, however that looks for you. But if you don't feel worthy, then you're constantly going to be attracting and be in situations that
mm.
reinforce that lack of worth. You're going to feel stuck, you're going to feel low, your vibe's going to be low. But if that's true, then the opposite's also true. Whereas if you choose joy, if every day, whatever it is, do I want tea or coffee this morning? What's going to bring me the most joy right now? It's going
Yeah.
to be, a cup of herbal tea, or it's going to be my coffee if that's what you need, that buzz. And that's when you then start bringing more opportunities in that bring you joy, that are aligned with what it is that your dreams and aspirations. And that's when your action becomes aligned as well. And it all just starts flowing so beautifully.
It does make such a difference this morning. It can be as simple as drinking coffee out of your favorite mug. I
Yes.
literally did that. I put my favorite grandpa sweater on. And when I tell you, I wrap myself up in my favorite blanket, I'm sipping my coffee, and I said to myself, I'm pretty happy right now. And that's all it was. I put my coffee in my favorite mug, I put my sweater on, got my feet on the couch under my favorite blanket, and I'm like, nobody's coming to mess with me. I don't have to cook for nobody. I am here with myself. And I had that moment of, I
Mm.
am being so productive right now just by taking this moment to take care of me. And as a recovering workaholic, I was like, girl, you're doing so good.
Oh wow, I love that so much. It just like makes my heart sing to hear you talk about that. And I often talk about, just finding those small moments of joy in the day. And it could be as much as stepping away from your desk and looking out the window, noticing, whatever nature it is. Okay, you might live in the city, but what else can you see that brings you joy? It could
Yeah,
be, a bright yellow car that's driving past, or, some, obviously in New York City, there's lots of yellow cars driving
yeah.
by, but, so it's not necessarily the big things. It's not going on that trip of a lifetime. It's not, buying that designer handbag. It's those small moments of joy, because the more you can cultivate that, the more you're going to bring in, and just generally happier you are all round.
Yeah, for sure. And it's funny because every time you say New York, people think New York City. So I'm 2 hours away from the city. I'm
Okay.
in the middle of nowhere. And that's what I get to see. I get to see grass. Well, not right now because it's winter, but I get to see where the grass used to be, right? I get to see the snow on the ground. I get to see trees that are perennial and always come back. And it's knowing how to take care of yourself. So you mentioned that this is fairly new to you, but since November, you have been experiencing this joy. So if you still remember, can you compare your before with your now? Like, what are the main differences in your life and truly experiencing joy?
I think before, there was moments where I would say, like, think to myself, I would love to say I love my life right now, but I couldn't say it, and I didn't quite know exactly what it was. And like, I even sat down and journaled on it, like, what is it that would make me say I love my life as it is right now? And I could never quite pinpoint it. And then, once that shifted for me, like, I look at my home, and, yeah, the roof's needing, replaced at some point in the next year or two. And there's things, but I love my home. It's my home, and just feeling very abundant. I think that's what shifted for me. Before, there was always that bit of lack of, like, I need something more. I want something more. And now it's like, I've got everything that I need. I can keep my son fed and clothed, and he's doing well. He's going to go off to university in September. And you know, like, I'm moving into this next phase of my life, where my son's moving on, but it's come at the right time because I'm craving this freedom. And
Yeah.
yes, I'm always going to be his mum and I want to be there for him, but he's so independent now. I can go away for a short break if I want to. I
Yeah.
can just, go out for a night with my friends if I want. I don't have to worry about babysitters and who's going to look after him. And I think it's 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 just been such a kind of gradual shift over time. But as I said, like, I can truly say right now in this very moment, I love my life. And yeah, there's other things that I still want and want to do. But
Yeah.
as I'm sitting here right now, I love my life. And I could never say that before.
Oh my God, I'm so happy for you. God, that you found that for yourself. What was the moment that you said earlier you were helping other entrepreneurs be seen? And then you had that moment of, wait a minute, I'm a person, I'm a healer. How am I helping myself be seen? So, how was that moment for you to say, hey, I'm putting myself on the list? I want to be seen too.
Yeah, and do you know I can remember it's like one of those things it's usually with something maybe tragic that happened. You'll never forget where you were. And I was sitting in my living room, and I was part of this group container. It was a 30 days of devotion to yourself, that somebody hosted, and it was about day 4 or 5 into it, and I can't even remember what she gave us daily guidance to work through, and I remember sending a voice note going, guys. Like this is what I'm here to do. The people that I want to help is me just a few, a couple of years ago, a few steps ago,
Yeah.
and like I was finally I understand this, and the tears were streaming down my face. I wish I'd
Mm,
saved the voice recording in the group because it's gone now, but um it was just that moment of like all like so that bit about staying present, right, and seeing the opportunities. The whole of 2024, every conversation I was having was pointing. It was like the universe was hitting me over the head, like you want to be a spiritual healer, you want to be a spiritual healer. But I was so stuck in that I'm an online business manager and a business coach, and this is what I've done.
yeah.
I've spent 3 years growing my brand. Like this is all going to be for nothing, and it kind of all just landed into place where I realized, and I actually speak about this a lot on social media as well. Like, I wasn't starting from scratch because
Yeah.
everything that I was helping my previous clients with, I could apply now to my own business. And so it meant that I was able to like rebrand and establish myself in this as a Joy Alchemist very, very quickly, grow my audience very quickly. And lo and behold, a lot of people who followed me on social media stuck with me. I was very open and honest about the transition, and I
Yeah.
didn't really lose any followers either. So that kind of really kind of affirmed to me as well that just by being me, people wanted to be in my presence, people wanted to hear what I had to say, and that was really lovely to see as well.
Yeah, that's so beautiful. I gather that they probably can feel the shift in yourself and the joy because that is magnetic, that is contagious. And even though you make that shift, and I love that you gave yourself permission. I remember that I used to debate every shift that I have, and I have had many shifts. I would debate like, what are they gonna say? And I can't believe I'm switching again. And now, like, I don't mind switching mid sentence. If I feel like doing another shift, I'm like, I'm doing it because I'm giving myself permission. So I love that you gave yourself that permission. So you do that, you make that shift, you rebrand. Where was that? How do you feel when you help someone experience that joy with that freedom without feeling selfish or guilty?
Yeah. Oh gosh, it just warms my heart so much because like I know what it feels like. I know what it felt like to kind of sit in that just like wanting more but not knowing how to get there. And so, sometimes I work with people like so I have a lot of women in my group who maybe don't even realize that this is what they're needing. And I'm just there showing up every day, this is and sharing my journey and those like when I've created posts and videos around my journey, those are the ones that seem to get the most attention because
Yeah.
it's real, it's authentic, it's me. But my whole point of sharing them is that people can see themselves in my journey as well and know that it's true. And for me, one of the big things was like I was still running my business as a side hustle. I had a
Mm.
full-time job, and had always had this dream of, resigning and running my own business, but never quite got there. A few things happened in life that kind of seemed to put things further on the back burner. And then the moment I just decided I'm going to set the intention, just by setting the intention, I don't have to send my letter of resignation in there and then. It's about divine timing because before I was,
Yeah.
as I said, in that masculine energy. Like, the 31st of March 2024 was when I was going to be resigning. Oh, sorry, 2023 was when I was going to be resigning from a job. And that came and went, and I had other things going on in life that meant that it didn't feel possible. And last November, when I landed and I came home to myself, is how I describe it, like it felt I kind of had the idea of like January 2025 that was kind of starting to feel good for me. And then when I then had to rebrand and kind of create this new business, I thought to myself, well, now I'm going to have to start from scratch. That's going to put that resignation even further back into the future. But as time went on, like November into December, it felt even more right. And
Mm.
I have less of a plan now about how my life, my business, my income streams are going to look than I ever had. But just this week, the first week of February, this was my last week in my social work career. I finished, and this is me now stepping into this new chapter. So this is a
Wow.
beautiful time to record this podcast. And I feel so at peace with it. And I know that this is the right thing. And that's when you lean into your intuition, when you choose your own joy, your life will flow and opportunities will come in.
Oh my God, you said so many awesome things. Congratulations. That is so delicious. Like that feeling of leaning into your intuition, and you said divine timing.
Yes.
Like, how often do we, and I heard this the other day, and it was such a reminder. I know that and we know all these things, right? It's like you think you have to do that all by yourself. No, you don't. You have divine help. You
Yes.
literally do. You have people in the background opening doors for you, putting your name in rooms that you haven't even dreamed of being,
Oh,
and it's easier, right? Oh, it's
oh
so
yeah.
good.
Absolutely. And it's such and surrender was a concept that I did struggle with for quite a while. Like, how do you truly surrender and focus on letting go of the how? And I feel like I'm sitting in that place right now. And I saw a video just a couple of days ago, and it was somebody saying like when they travel or when they get in the car to go anywhere, even if it's to the supermarket, they basically just say to themselves, I will arrive there in divine timing. And
Yeah,
it was such a good way to symbolize how you surrender, because then every
yeah,
traffic light that you're stuck at, every traffic jam that you're sitting in, you're just trusting this is where I'm supposed to be. I will get there in divine timing, whether that's on time, whether that's 5 minutes early or 10 minutes late, it's divine timing. And that kind of like really, like, even though I was already in that place, like it just clicked another bit into place for me. And there was somebody else that I follow, and he talks about, I think it's out of a book he quoted, it's about now, not how. And that's that presence.
yes.
Like, what do I do now? I don't need to know the next step or how that's going to look or how it's going to pan out.
That's such a great book. I love it. Just the title. You don't even have to read the book.
Yeah.
You just have to have the title in front of you. I had that book out for so long. I wanted to see it as often as possible because it's such a message. And I just want to show you right on my arm what I have right here. Surrender.
Oh,
I
wow. Wow.
needed to have it here because I did it
Yeah.
for myself, right? I needed to have it at a place where, as often as I lifted this arm, which is all the time, it reminded me, girl, like, and surrender doesn't mean don't do anything. People misunderstand that
Mhm.
quote from the Bible. It just means trust. That's all it means.
Yes.
Trust divine timing. Trust that I'm with you. Trust that it's gonna work out. And one of my favorite phrases that I stole from Abraham Hicks is, things are always working out for me.
Yes. 100%. So two things that you said there. The first bit about the surrender and the trust. That's the bit about staying present and noticing the
Yeah,
opportunities, because that's the universal God or source, whatever you believe in, is
yeah,
showing you like here's the next thing that you need to do. Whereas if you're just sitting on the couch and you're just, like you're blinkered or you're scrolling and you're just watching
yeah,
Netflix and you're not really paying attention, nothing's going to come to you. So that's where you need to be present and aware, and that's where the trust comes in. And so there's often a lot of people will talk in challenging times. You're like, God won't give you situations that you're not strong enough to deal with. And some,
yeah,
I'm paraphrasing there. But the opposite again is equally true. God or source or the universe is not going to give you opportunities for growth and development if you're not ready for it.
yeah,
Oh, and I get
yeah,
goosebumps every time I say that, because it feels scary. And, I had to do a lot of work around stepping into the unknown and trusting the unknown because I feared it, it felt unsafe to me. And I was journaling one day and it literally just came to me like, there are endless possibilities in the unknown. Like
yeah.
anything is possible. And so that's how I embrace it now. And then there was a second point that you spoke about, and I've lost it now. I'll come back to it. But yeah, it
It'll
was,
come back.
sorry.
It'll come back to you
Yeah,
for sure.
but it was that bit about, like
Oh,
it,
things always work out for you.
things will always work out for you. Exactly. And so like anytime, like even last weekend, I had this wobble of, because like the Monday was going to be my last day at work. And I was like, holy crap. Oh shit. Now I've actually got to like walk the talk. It was great talking about it hypothetically. I was very bold. This is what I'm going to
Yeah,
do, and blah blah blah. And then I was like, oh crap, now it's actually happening. And I had this major imposter syndrome moment as well. But I always come back to that bit of, it's Maya Angelou of, what if I fail, but oh my dear, what if you fly? And like I
yeah,
literally like when I handed in my resignation, so 20 years ago, I did a tandem skydive, absolutely loved it. And I
Wow.
likened that, sending in my letter of resignation as like jumping out of the plane, but this time I didn't have somebody strapped to my back with a parachute. So I have to open my wings. I have to spread my wings and
Yeah.
fly. And I'm much into astrology, and like I follow a couple of tarot readers as well, and everything in in astrology and the readings has been, stepping into your purpose, getting
Yeah.
your voice out there, being confident about it. And so like, I have to spread my wings because now I am responsible for me, and
Yeah.
that's a little bit about radical responsibility. I'm responsible for my choices. I'm responsible for my joy. But what a better place to do it from, feeling happy and joyous about it, than feeling anxious and scared of what's to come.
Yeah, it's so good. And I don't know if you notice, every time you trust and you open your wings, you don't fall flat on your face. You just don't.
Yes.
It's like, you've seen the eagles or any other birds that they push their babies off the
Yes.
thing.
They fly.
The baby's gonna fly because there's something instinctual that kicks in because we are all about self-preservation.
Yes.
So I put myself in a situation earlier last year. I've been wanting to move out of my state. I'm not from the United States, but I lived here now longer than I lived in my island. So we moved here. I was very young, and from the Caribbean to a very cold weather, big drastic change, different language, different culture, different everything. I loved it here. It was amazing, and we moved to this state. And after, I don't know, so I lived there for 29 years. Okay, so after year 10, I've been wanting to move since year 10. Okay, and every time I wanted to do it, it was just not happening. And I kept saying every year, next year, next year, next year. And I'm like, I'm feeling like this on my time here, it's done. And like you, I had dates. We all
Mm-hmm.
do that.
Mm-hmm.
And then my daughter went off to college 2 years ago, and she moved to the college was in upstate New York. And we're very close. And I offer, hey, I can move. And she's like, she pumped the brakes. I need my time. I need to figure it out that I can do it by myself. And I'm glad that I listened. Um, and then she was ready. And then other things happened that required me to be closer to her. And when I tell you that the mama instinct kicked in, and I'm like, I don't know how this is going to work out, but I'm going to do it. And I did it before everything was set up. I did it before it makes sense to anybody else. It makes sense to me. I'm like, I'm going to trust in this divine timing. I'm going to trust that I'm going to be okay. And I'm telling you, I haven't even shared this online yet. And when I tell you that it was a rough couple months, but I trusted. And
Yes.
also, I burned the boat. You know, when you say burn the boats,
Yeah.
I burned the boats, burned. No
Yeah.
way that I can go back to the rubble and pull them back together. No, no, no.
Yeah.
Burned. And
Oh,
when you're in that situation where you go forward or you go forward,
yeah.
and I always say, be careful, do it within your own comfort. I knew what I could handle, and I knew
Yes.
that it was beyond what I could handle, but I knew that I can handle that.
Yes. Yes.
And guess what? Things always work out for me. It
Yeah.
did.
And so again, 2 points. One about everything working out, but the first one was like, it's find the evidence that things work out. So like for me, a big thing of giving up like a really well paid, stable job and career, and then having to be responsible for generating my own income. But like looking back in my life, like and I don't mean this in a conceited way. I've never had to worry about money. Sometimes it's been the last, £10 or dollars in my account till I get paid the next day. But I have genuinely never had to worry about money.
Mm,
And I'm so, so truly, truly grateful for that, because I know not everybody's in that position. And it's just obviously unconsciously at the time, but like just trusting that things will come in. And
yeah,
when you create space in your life, whatever that looks like, more
yeah,
will flow in. Like even like I had a client that I was an online business manager for over 2 years. And as part of this journey, I've had to say to her, like, I'm moving in a different direction. That was like in my business, I was steady income that I was giving up as well, or I call it
yeah,
releasing because I wasn't giving it up. But like
yeah,
most just flowing in, you like flowed in. I've got other things coming in. And the other bit is like, you know, trusting in yourself and things not making logical sense. Like that's you working with your intuition,
yeah,
and trying to drown out people going, oh, you're making a mistake. This is the wrong thing. If in your heart it feels expansive and light and freeing, it's
yeah.
the right decision.
Yes.
And you just need to trust and keep coming back to that, because often on paper, like what I'm doing right now makes no sense at all. No sense to the outside world. But I'm trusting my heart, I'm trusting my
Yeah.
intuition, and I'm leaning into that so much.
Oh, that is so good. Because I don't know if it's ever happened to you that you meet someone and something tells you have no evidence, you have no reason to dislike this person, but you're like, I don't know. There's something about this
Yeah.
person, and then you don't listen, and then a couple months down the road, sometimes the next day, they do something, and you're like, I freaking knew it. I knew it. They were bad. They were bad people. You always know.
Yeah, oh, absolutely. And when you if and what I tend to find, and for myself, I'm speaking for myself here as well, is like when you do that, it's because you're doing it from a fear base, like so
Yeah,
I liken it to clients I've had in the past where everything about that person, nice enough person, but there was just something I was like, I'm not sure, but I was like, right, but I need the money, I'm gonna go for it. And like literally weeks, like week one or week two, I'm like, oh my God, what
yeah.
did I do this?
What
And
did I
so
do?
very much I then shifted into like, if it's not feeling aligned, if I'm not feeling open, expansive, joyous with working with this person, then it's a no. And you do it nicely, obviously. You're not just gonna like shut the door in their face, but it's so, so important because that you need to surround yourself with people who are going to support your joy, support your decisions, even when they don't seem logical.
Oh my, it's gonna make sense to you. At the
Yes.
end of the day, I think we have, I don't know about you, but I was raised to be a good girl. And
Mm-hmm.
that is such a
Mm-hmm.
disservice, such a disservice. And I'm finding my inner mean girl. I'm
Yeah.
fine, and I'm not a mean, it's just more assertive, where I'm
Yes.
standing up and finding my voice, and I'm telling people off in the most nice, assertive
Mm-hmm.
way,
Mm-hmm.
calling people out when I
Yep.
feel disrespected.
Boundaries.
Maybe
Uh-huh.
because also I'm a Taurus, so I don't put up with anything anymore. And I'm calling people out, and I'm like, and then I'll let it go. It's not, it doesn't fester, it doesn't grow into this big boulder because I call it early. I'm like, that thing that you did, I didn't really quite like that. And I catch my tone because
Yeah.
I am really big on tone. If you talk to me some kind of way, I'm gonna shut down,
Yeah.
and it's not gonna be pretty. So I know that. So I like to give what I like to receive back. So I say it in a way that the person can hear it, and I say it later.
Mm-hmm.
I put a pin on that on my head, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, let me when everything is well, let me go back to it and say, that thing that happened the other day, I would really appreciate if you don't do that again.
Yes.
And when I tell you the peace that I feel about, oh my God, I stood up for myself, and two, I give that person a chance to fix it.
Yes.
And it's on them to fix it. They don't have to fix it,
Yeah.
but the consequence is gonna be, okay, you're not gonna be in my life at that capacity anymore because you haven't earned space in my life. Thank you very much. Bye.
No, absolutely. And it is all about setting boundaries. And that's the bit about taking radical responsibility for yourself. Because,
Yeah,
nobody can make you feel a certain way.
yeah,
If you are triggered, then that's something inside of you that needs to be healed. But equally, you can't make anybody else feel a certain way. So that's the bit where, like, speaking your truth, standing up for yourself, that's the bit that feels uncomfortable because you feel responsible for other people's feelings
yeah,
and emotions. But actually, as long as you do it in a respectful way, and away from from love for yourself and the other person, you can't do any harm. And if they're triggered and if they react to it, that's their shit. And
it
that
so
was
is.
so liberating for me to get to that place. It's uncomfortable for myself because I realize
Mm,
when I'm triggered, oh, there's some stuff going on here that needs to come out. And
yeah,
and also realizing that every decision I've made, every conversation I've had, every action I've taken has landed me where I am today. And you know, now I'm in a good place. Before I was maybe sometimes in situations or relationships or friendships where I wasn't feeling good. But now I'm like, okay, but I can change that now because I can make decisions from now on in a way that's aligned with my values and aligned what's important to me.
oh my God, I love that you were so honest to say that sometimes it's still hard
Oh, yes. Oh,
because a
yeah.
lot of people want to show up online and tell you that I always know what to do, I always do it right, I am so transcendent, I am so spiritual, blah blah blah. And it's like, shut up.
Yeah.
You have
No.
your moments when you said the wrong thing, you have your moments when you're not so spiritual and you mess up. Okay, I know, I at least I do.
Yeah,
I'm
oh
not.
no, absolutely. And you do sometimes because it's that reptilian brain, isn't it? It's that
Yeah,
unconscious part that just takes over in a flash. But if you're present, if you're in the moment and you're feeling into your emotions, you can catch yourself a lot quicker. And you're able to then go back and go, do you know what? Like, the reverse is true of what you were saying with other
yeah,
people. actually, I don't like the way that I behaved. I don't like what I said. I
Yes.
apologize, and what I meant was, and I think for me a big thing is like, even as you say, even if the moment's passed, it's okay to go back.
Yeah.
Even if it's days or weeks later, because if it's still sitting with you, then it's something that needs to be aired.
Absolutely. I call that asking for a mulligan. So in
Mhm.
the game of golf, you can ask for a do-over. So I'm like, can I have a mulligan? And some
Uh-huh.
people are
Oh,
impressed that I know what that means because I don't watch sports at all. But I'm like, I like to use their language. So for
yes.
women, I always say talk about shoes because most women love shoes and shopping. Not all of them, but many of them. And with men, they not all of them, but many of them know sports. So I would say, can I have a mulligan? If I'm
Yeah.
talking to a woman, can I have a do-over? And then that lets them know, okay, I know I was nutty and I want to make it right.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you noticed, but sometimes it's not that you were wrong. It's just in the way that you did it.
Yes.
And so I might restate what I say, but I can say, but the way that I said it, the attitude,
Yes.
the timing was wrong. I stand by what I said, but how I said it, that was
Yeah.
not right.
Yeah. And it was the intention or the meaning behind what you
Yeah.
said, but the words maybe didn't quite reflect that.
Yeah. Yeah. That is so beautiful. So today, so how do you feel? Let me ask you, go back to this because I thought it was so important. You had that client that you were working with consistently, that money was coming in. How did your inner good girl felt when you were gonna tell them thanks for the money, but I am gonna say no.
Yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, it was really so that was maybe about 10 months ago I had that conversation,
Yeah.
and I was so nervous because I was still very much coming out of the people pleasing mode,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
like feeling like I was letting people down, but I again just kept my focus on this is where I want to go, this is the shift that I want to take,
Yeah.
um and yeah, it was a difficult conversation. And there was a couple of times like, could you extend it just for another few months, just for another few months, just give me
Yeah.
some time. And I kind of did that, but like I'm literally this week coming, I'm going to be transitioning completely out, and I've handed it over to somebody else. So,
Yeah.
but actually, when I had the conversation with my employer to hand my notice in at the start of
Yeah.
this year, that went so much easier. So sometimes, once you've done something,
Mm.
once you've taken that first step, the next step becomes easier again. And I'm truly grateful because my employer was so understanding and so supportive, and just celebrating me for being so brave and taking this next step. So it's sometimes you fear more what's going to happen. Again, that's living in the future. Then actually, it's
Yeah.
not as bad as it's going to as you imagine it to be as well. So just do it.
Yeah, I bet your future self is celebrating the action. Or like, oh my gosh, she did it. Like it, and I believe there's many versions of us, right? So it's like
Yeah.
looking forward and saying, I know you had it all in you because we did it. We're here in the future. You're just not here yet, but I'm just high-fiving you from here.
Oh gosh, yeah, I was hosting a women's circle last night, an in-person one, and we was connecting it with your higher self
Yeah,
slash your future version of yourself. And
yeah,
so although I was doing the guided meditation, I couldn't get myself in there. And like my higher self was like, girl, I'm so proud of you. Sorry, this
yeah,
is me. I'm sorry to mirror your language and everything. You're
yeah,
like you're so freaking proud of you because you've
yeah,
done it. You've done it. You are living the dream right now.
yeah.
This is you. You are me. I am you. And it was like, ah, yes. Okay. Thank you.
It's so good. And you said it so well. We're doing it for ourselves. We're doing it for our inner child. I always say I love, and I just get all emotional every time when I think about my younger self.
Mhm.
I love her so much. Like I don't ever want to let her down. I promised her that I always keep her safe. And I
Mhm.
even have pictures of her
Yeah.
around my house because I love her face. I love her pureness. I love her joy. I love her beauty and her rawness. So I look at her and I'm like, girl, I love you. I smile at her, I wink at her, and I say it. I got you. It's you and me, babe. I
Yeah.
got you. And I'm not gonna let anybody disrespect you anymore. And that keeps me focused. That keeps me like I'm doing it for her. And I can feel my higher version, my future version of me urging me forward as well. So we have this generational thing where we are me in 3D, 4D, looking for each other, which allows me in turn to do my thing so I can highlight amazing people like you so then you can shine brighter and the people that need you can find you as well. So it's this endless cycle that we have where
Yeah.
we all need each other so we can shine as bright as possible.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Like, and that's like, I'm so much around collaboration over competition because we all do our own thing in our own way. And yeah, we work with the same universal laws
Yeah,
and concepts, and we might use slightly different language.
yeah,
But ultimately, if you're sitting in that place of abundance, then there's enough for everybody. And that's that flow. And that, like I had a conversation with somebody yesterday where it's like, it's not about me holding on to everything, because again, that's fear-based, that's very negative. Whereas if I'm
yeah,
happy to, do you know who you need to speak to, Kat? Or do you know who, and I love making those connections because I
yeah.
trust that if I'm passing that flow through me, that's going to come back again as well, and tenfold, hundredfold, whatever, even if it comes back just in the same shape or form. And that's when life kind of becomes abundant, and the flow of life kind of, sits within your reality.
Yeah, I think this entire conversation, even though we went in so many different directions, if we could summarize it, it's been the power of being joyful
Yes.
with your own life, the power of owning your voice, the power of not hiding behind a good girl, hiding behind, but I have to be responsible for other people. But what are they gonna say if I say something? It's so what you do, it's so necessary, especially for people our age, especially for mothers that are empty nesters, because when you're a mother, and at least my generation was taught, you can rest later, or you're a mom, you chose to be a mom, so you're not a person anymore. And I told my daughter the other day, I said, I'm always gonna be your mom. I'm also a person.
Yes.
And I felt very vulnerable saying, but sometimes, kids need to hear it, even though she's, 20 at the time. I'm like, I'm still a person. Like, I still get my feelings hurt. I know that I'm a grown up and I can look like I'm very strong. And almost like what they say, um, check on your strong friends, because
Yes.
sometimes people forget.
Yes.
And I have to correct people all the time. I'm like, no, and that's still hard for me. Just because he looks effortless, please no. It's
Yes.
still hard for me. Like, don't
Absolutely.
minimize my efforts. And
Yes.
that's me again using my voice.
Absolutely.
Oh my God, I'm so glad. This time has gone by so fast, Debbie. I'm so glad that you stopped by. I know you're very busy, and I'm just so grateful that the internet connected us. Do you have anything coming up, or a place where my audience can get more joy from you?
Yeah, thank you. And first of all, thank you so much for having me. And this is the reason I'm starting my own podcast, because I love these conversations. They energize me so much. So I hang out mostly on LinkedIn and Facebook.
Okay.
So you can find me there, Debbie Lucas. And the best place to find out what I'm working on in the moment is my website is debbielucas.me/links. And you can put that in the show notes as well,
Yeah.
because that's got all my current bits that I work on. I have a daily newsletter that goes out called Joyful Jumpstarts. So it's just
Mm.
a 1 minute, 2 minute read that can give you something to ponder over your morning coffee, over your morning meditation or journaling or your commute to work, whatever it is. So it lands in your inbox first thing in the morning, and it just gives you something to think about throughout the day. And that's been very popular. People have loved that. So again, that's on my links page that you can sign up for that as well.
That's amazing. And I love that you answer that. So you hang out the most on LinkedIn and Facebook. Those are
Yes,
your main
yes.
platforms. So we'll make sure to put those inside the show notes and the blog post that goes along with your show as well. Thank you so much, Debbie. I just want to tell you, I'm going to tell little Debbie, I am so freaking proud of you. Thank you for standing up for yourself. Thank you for putting yourself on the list. Thank you for saying no when you needed to. And thank you for saying yes to yourself. You are amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate you.
You are very, very welcome. Very welcome. There you have it, guys. This is the reason why we have the Healed and Cash Flowing podcast show, because of people like Debbie, people that are leading by example, people that are keeping it real and telling you exactly what they struggle with still, how they found their voice, and how they're making the world a better place, but by starting with themselves. So, this is your invitation. My prescription to you today is to listen or watch this episode twice, and then to let me know in the comments, whether it's in the blog post or on social media. Let me and Debbie know what was the part that really impacted you the most, and go on, do your thing. That thing that you have been wanting to do. This is your time. As usual, please know that I love you, that I'm rooting for you, and I'm gonna see you super duper soon.